Hey y'all, I'm Paige Feldman. I'm a writer and director, and here on this YouTube channel, I'm documenting the making of my debut feature as a writer-director. It's called Back to You, and it's a contained romantic comedy. And this week, I'm still on the road to recovery. If you saw my video last week, I got really sick and had an unexpected hospitalization, but I'm taking slightly shorter naps and slightly fewer painkillers, and so I'm able to incorporate a little bit more creative work into my day, which is so nice to be able to do even at 15 to 20 minutes at a time. And the thing that I incorporated this week is applying for a fellowship, or getting my materials ready to apply for a fellowship. So as you might know, if you've been watching for a while, I have given up on contests. On screenwriting contests, I'm done. One of the main reasons is they're just not working for me, but I have other reasons, and I can point you to my video that I made all about why I don't do screenwriting contests. It's right up here, and I'll include a link in the description if you want to watch that later. But fellowships are a different story. Fellowships are programs made for people, for up-and-coming writers and filmmakers and directors, and sometimes even like composers and editors, to allow them to work on a project, to help develop a project so that it's ready for production, and to provide support to create films. It's not just rewarding the creation of a screenplay, it's helping that screenplay be pushed forward and made into a movie. And since Back to You is a movie that I am making, this feels like the perfect way to spend my time, especially because I have created what I like to call a fellowship application kit. Because within each fellowship application, there are certain application elements that are basically the same across every fellowship. Because if you have all of these elements ready, which is something that I'm doing and creating them as I'm applying to this fellowship that I'm working on right now, it's not going to take you that much time to apply. Because so much of my hesitancy to apply for fellowships in the past has been, oh my gosh, that's so many things I have to do, and I don't have any of them done. I finally got wise to this like a year ago and thought, these are all basically the same things. So as long as I have them ready, I shouldn't be scared about applying to a fellowship. I can just throw them in. If there's any extra stuff, I can spend my time on that and just polishing, tightening, and maybe doing a little bit of tweaking to some of these elements, these application requirements, to ensure that they're actually speaking to the purpose of the fellowship that I'm applying for. So to show you what I mean, I'm going to show you the fellowship that I'm applying for right now, which is the Film Independent Screenwriting Lab. Here is the application for the program. And you scroll down here, and you have how to apply. And there's a cover letter, a complete feature-length screenplay, an artist statement, a lookbook that's optional, but I'm going to do one because I'm going to do a lookbook anyway, a logline and synopsis for the film, bios of attached key cast and crew, project status and history, and a narrative directing sample if you plan on directing the film with which you are applying. And so now I'm going to show you the elements that are basically universal. They are a cover letter, one complete feature screenplay, an artist statement, a logline and synopsis, and bios. So those are the elements that I am going to focus on today. The cover letter, complete feature screenplay, logline, synopsis, artist statement, and bio. Those are the things that I am going to devote time to today. And I'm not going to tell you how to do them. I'm going to give you just like some general guidelines on why you need to do them, what you should be looking for, etc. And I'll do an individual video on each element in the future. And if you have a preference for which one I start with, or if you're like, one of these just doesn't make sense to me, drop it in the comments. I will definitely read them and take that under advisement. Basically, if you tell me to do one first, I'll do it first. If there's no consensus, I'll get to all of them. Don't worry. Anyway, let's start off with the cover letter. Cover letter is actually the one that's the most difficult to prepare for in advance. A cover letter needs to be very specific to the program, what its goals are, the organization that's creating the fellowship and putting it on, and then it also needs to be very specific to where you are in this current moment. So the best thing you can do to prepare for your cover letter is to keep a running list of anything that's happened to you for your career, any jobs you've gotten, any festivals you've gotten your work into, any awards you've won, any pivots that you've made in your personal or professional life that might affect or be impressive with the way that you do your work. And basically have that running list so that when you're ready to do a cover letter, you don't have to think about what you've done. All you have to do is kind of read about the organization who is sponsoring the fellowship and about their goals for the fellowship. And then you can write about why this fellowship, why my project, and why me. And the why me stuff is the stuff, this running list of accomplishments that I'm encouraging you to create. But the cover letter is something you actually kind of have to write as soon as you figure out you want to apply for a fellowship. But if you have the rest of these elements already set and done, then you're good. Next, the complete feature screenplay. This should be a no-brainer. If you're applying for a fellowship, do not apply unless you have a complete feature screenplay that you are proud of, that you have polished, that you have proofread. Some of these fellowships say, you can reapply with the same material. Not really, not unless it's changed significantly. You get one chance with each script, so make sure that this one chance is your best chance. It is better in a lot of cases to not apply than to apply with something that's not ready yet. It's better to wait a year. The program will most likely still be here in a year. If it's not, who knows if it was really going to be worth it, worth the time, worth the energy, if they can't sustain it. Because if they can't sustain a program for another year, how much support are the fellows who actually got in going to be getting? Just don't apply without the feature screenplay. Then related is the logline. The logline is a synopsis or a teaser, if you will, of what your script is about. It introduces the main characters, the antagonist, the protagonist, their goal, and the stakes. That is a traditional logline format. However, if you're like me and you're writing scripts that are more about people's relationships that don't have that traditional antagonist-protagonist stakes relationship, or they're all a little bit nebulous, I do have a video about writing loglines for non-plot driven scripts, and if you want to take a look at it, it's up here. Hopefully this will be helpful advice for you if you are writing things more like me, where it's a romantic comedy and the antagonist and the protagonists are kind of like also one and the same, because the love interest should be antagonizing each other and the stakes aren't super high. So it's difficult to say like, oh, or they'll never find true love. Not really. I mean, like, they'll just find love with someone else or go live their best life in a different way if it doesn't work. But there are other ways to write loglines besides the traditional format. If you need help, I have that video. I don't know if I can put it up again. Logline is pretty easy compared to a synopsis. Synopses are the worst. I hate them so much because they take everything in your beautiful, well-crafted screenplay and like shrink it down to just its bare essentials, so there's no nuance. It's just a series of events, and it sounds so boring and terrible, and I hate it. But everybody requires a synopsis. You have to write one. So I would encourage you to write one as soon as you have finished your most recent polish of the script that you're going to submit, because it'll be fresh in your mind, and you can write it without having to scroll through every single page and be like, oh, that's important, that's important. No. You need to aim for a one-page synopsis, which is so hard. So my favorite thing to do is to write a 3 to 4 page synopsis on the off chance that a fellowship will take it. And I did have one fellowship I applied for like a month and a half ago that did take a 4-page synopsis, which was great because I was able to like do some storytelling within these 4 pages. So write the 3 to 4 page synopsis and then start whittling it down. Take out all the B-plot stuff. Think about how you can rephrase some sentences and some events to encapsulate their just essence. And also really look at your logline. Because when you're doing a 1-page synopsis, you want to ensure that synopsis reflects what your logline says. So think about your synopsis where only the thing in your logline is relevant. Cut out the B-plot, cut out the side characters. Maybe even do a little bit of fudging in terms of how some events follow others if you're having real trouble cutting down, and keep it at its essence. If you can incorporate some voice within the synopsis, that is great. Think about word choice, think about sentence structure to kind of create a bit of liveliness, but know that these synopses, especially at just one page, it's not going to be fun, it's not going to be exciting, it's not going to be all that interesting. It's going to be bare bones skeleton. What is this story about? I hate the synopsis. I'm going to do a whole video on it where I'm going to complain about it, but also show you how I do it. But that's not this video. So logline and synopsis, very important, always asked for. And frankly, the logline is something you should have anyway, just because it'll help you pitch as you're going through like some networking or trying to get investors or just talking about your script in general. The next piece of your fellowship kit is the artist statement. This one is, in contrast to the synopsis, like a lot more fun because you get to talk about why you're passionate about the story that you wrote and what you hope the story you wrote and the film you're going to be making is going to accomplish in the world. What are you going to make the audience feel? What sorts of ideas are you promoting? What was the spark that led to the initial idea? How does this reflect who you are as a writer, as an artist, as a filmmaker? What ideas are you looking to explore? And what are your wildest dreams for the film? All of these questions can be answered in the artist statement. And it's so much fun to write. And it's like, for me, it's both the easiest thing to write and the most difficult thing to write in this fellowship kit. Because like I think about Back to You and I just think about all of the things I love about it, like the Jewishness and thinking about how people can change over time and the pursuit of art and why not giving up is important, but why you might want to give up in general, and practical versus dreamer and never feeling understood. And like, as I'm listing all these things off, it's a laundry list and they're all very different. And that's why it's difficult, because I have to figure out how to create a narrative thread that combines all of these different ideas and desires and things that I'm connecting to about my story into one cohesive narrative so that someone who doesn't know me will understand that I have a clear vision for this story that is cohesive and focused. And not just, oh, but this is important and that's important. And what if I want to develop this, I can't change anything, because the purpose of a fellowship is to help you develop your script, to hone it, to create a film with a singular vision. And if you're all over the place already, you're not going to be considered ready to be in this fellowship. You need to have a singular vision in mind so that people who are reading your script and reading your logline, synopsis, all of these things can think, okay, this is what she's about. This is what this script's about. This is all lining up. So it's really easy because I'm just like me. I'm sure you all have tons of ideas about what you want for this story. I want it to win an Oscar. I want it to be in a packed theater for a giant festival. I want people to watch this at home and cry and relate or whatever it is. But you have to be able to contain that into a cohesive narrative of what this story is and why it's important to you in a way that's going to make a complete stranger understand everything that's in your brain and feel like you can be in control of a project, that you can be the writer who can take development notes and hone your script. You can be the director who is going to push forward a singular vision that's going to make sense and be a good film that's going to connect with people and make money. So artist statement is fantastic, just like so much fun, especially compared to a lot of these other elements, but it's also really difficult because it's not just a brain dump of everything you love about your script. It's finding a story about the creation of your film and finding a way to connect it to your passion and not being too broad with all of that. And finally, the bio. It's the last piece of this kit. The biography is very difficult, like the synopsis in a way, because you have to synopsize who you are, typically in like 150 words or less, including credits, including accomplishments, including a little bit of personality. And then you have to do that in a way that shows off your voice, which means as a comedy writer, mine needs to be funny or tongue-in-cheek. If you write action, you should mimic your style of the prose in your action to create a sense of rhythm so that people who are reading about you can also hear your voice within even this piece of writing. It is a crazy balancing act. It's something that I'm not fully, I have a couple bios. I have one that I like okay. I'm not fully honed in on it yet, but it's something that's really easy for me to look at other people's bios and figure out where they're going wrong. So for my bio video that I do, I might ask if you have a bio that you'd like me to critique, because I think that I'm better at that than at figuring out how the hell to do my own bio. But I'll obviously show my own bio because that's what I'm doing. If you are interested in having your bio critiqued on YouTube, let me know in the comments, please. If not, I don't blame you. But yeah, the bio is a combination of who you are, what you've done, and your voice as a writer, which is like kind of infuriating, but what have you. But you know, whatever. Along with the bio, this wasn't something that Film Independent asked for, but I found this multiple times, is a creative resume is often something that people are looking for. So I'm going to show you my creative resume real quick. A creative resume is a resume that has my creative work on it. So there's Interrobang, there's Wingdad, there's links to where it's streaming and to the trailer, How to Fall in Love the Hard Way, and then Definitely Not Anymore, which is a script that I got second round in Austin with. My Interrobang Festival selections, I won this pitch competition. I had a mentorship for the SCBWI, my education, some skills, and that is the creative resume. You can also have a creative and professional resume. I have one that's like 5 pages, but usually they're like a 2-page creative resume. So I would encourage you to create this and keep it updated, and it can also function a lot of ways as your cover letter list of accomplishments. So those are the elements for a fellowship application kit that you can create and have on hand so that you can apply to fellowships even if you find out like 2 days before that they're due, without having to do the crazy mad rush. The most important thing to remember as you compile this kit is to think about how these elements together create a complete picture, not only about what the film is, but about who you are and about why the people in charge of the fellowship should care, why they're invested in it. You should repeat information as you need, but for the most part, think about, and maybe even start with your artist statement, think about all of the whys, all of the reasons, all of the things that make you passionate about the story, and you can parse them out a little bit at a time across a lot of these application elements. So even if your artist statement doesn't get into every little thing that you want to talk about, you know that your cover letter says a little bit about that, but also reflects what you're saying in your artist statement. And you know that your synopsis will mention something that's really important to you about the story that you might mention in the artist statement, but it all just kind of comes together to create one cohesive whole, a big package that is representative of you and of your film and speaks to, hopefully, the fellowship committee that's choosing people to interview, to go forward, to ultimately get the fellowship, and will connect with them as well. So I hope that this overview of what a fellowship application kit is, what application materials fellowships are looking for, is helpful to you, especially if you're starting to apply to fellowships or you've just finished a project and want to know, well, what should I do next? What steps should I take next? Creating this information is great, not only for applying to fellowships, but if you're going to be submitting this to a financier or a producer once the Writers Guild strike is over, you'll have information that they might want, like an artist statement, like your synopsis, definitely a logline for a cover letter. You have all this information about your script together and information about you, like your biography and your creative resume. You'll be able to just relax and push yourself forward. You'll be able to submit to opportunities without having to worry about how much time you're spending on it. And you're not going to be like looking at the last minute being like, oh no, I think there's a typo in my bio, because you'll have had time to proofread it and look at it and revise and refine. So I hope this is helpful to you as you start applying to fellowships or thinking about it or just finished a script and don't know what to do next. And I will be back next week for more of Cake Fight Presents The Making Of. Thank you all so much for watching, and like I said before, if you have a specific element of this fellowship application kit you'd like me to cover in more depth first, drop it in the comments. And I will see you all next week. Thanks so much for watching.